What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know the secret and effective, very powerful goal-setting method that I use that you can use week by week to move yourself down the field of success? Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you exactly how to do this. Normally, it's $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time.
You're listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you want to step into your greatness, you've come to the right place. Here is your host, the human strength expert, Kyle Newell.
Hey everybody, it's Kyle Newell once again with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength, the podcast. This is actually episode number 92. 92. That's pretty crazy, but pretty cool. Today, what I'm going to go over is the story of how Newell Strength came to be. The reason that kind of came to mind for me to talk about today was this month at Newell Strength, it's Member Appreciation Month. And part of that, we thought it would be cool for the team to wear throwback shirts of Champion's Choice Personal Training with the old gorilla logo. It was my very first logo. Very hard to even find any of those shirts around anymore. And then it kind of morphed into a different logo, and then we started doing business as Newell Strength as years went on. But we put it up in our private Facebook group, and there was a tremendous response as to how many people wanted to order one of those shirts, which got me thinking that, and it shouldn't be a surprise, I guess, but people love stories. They love backstories. They love learning about how things came to be. And I figured by sharing my struggles and my story of Newell Strength, it'll help some of you. And I can also teach mind map through stories the best. So throughout this, as I go, I don't really have a script. I'll keep it short as usual, under 20 minutes. I'll pinpoint mind map principles that I use and I didn't even know I was using, or how they could have applied differently to certain areas of this story. And again, hopefully that you can take and use for yourself. Let me start with a quick lesson, though. Some things that happened to me last week before we get into the story. So I spoke I was on a guest panel at Vince's mentorship. Vince is one of my mentors and business coaches and good friends. And my buddy was in from Cleveland, and we've been chatting on the phone. He's maybe going to break away from his role, his 9-to-5 job, and venture on and continue to build his own business, which is very scary. So already has something established, but it's still fearful. Now, our fear is always going to be there. But I told him, I said, Paul, if emotion is high, out of control, in a not good way, then you got to use superior logic to kill it. Overcome that emotion when you start having fear and anger and anxiety with superior logic. Map out each step of the way and focus on the process. When you don't know the next step, meaning when logic is low and you don't have the knowledge, then use superior emotion to overcome that. A lot of times I don't know what the next step is, but I just become crazily optimistic and focus my brain on the possibilities. And what if I did succeed? What if we did succeed? And you overcome the lack of logic and knowledge with superior emotion. So remember the two parts of your brain, the mammal brain and the human part of your brain, two of the parts, I should say, those are opposing each other. Logic and emotion don't mix. Second thing from last week, in a conversation with Devin, actually, and she had said something to me joking, but my immediate thought was to fire back at her. And to think of all the possible negative traits she may have. Nobody's perfect. And I explained this to her the next day. I said, it was just interesting that my first thought was a reaction. It was a reaction towards you. So the energy of your words, Everything we do, your body language, your presence, your words, your writing, everything you do puts off energy in one way or another. So you have to be mindful of your words because they're going to cause other people to react in a positive way or a negative way. Try never to be nasty to people. Even when my best buddies are joking around and making fat jokes towards each other, I usually never get involved because it's just not good energy and it's going to cause a trickle-down effect. And it doesn't make you feel good. So your words put off a vibrational energy, just as music puts off vibrational energy. There's music that makes you feel like crap and drains your energy, and that's angry energy. And there's music that inspires you and makes you want to do more. Okay, so those are the short lessons from last week. Now we're going to get into the story of Newell Strength. So let me start way back when I graduated college in 2003, University of Delaware. I started my internship with Jay Butler at Rutgers, with Rutgers football. This is right before they were about to hit their big breakthrough and become relevant. I did that the whole summer of 2003. Jay has since become a good friend and I guess a lifelong mentor to me. Comes up every summer and we train for a week when he comes to visit his parents with his kids up here in Hillsboro. And anyway, I went through the whole summer. By the end of the summer, I decided, you know what, this isn't the exact route I want to take at this time. So let me go back to school and get my teaching certification, which is what I did. I went back to Kane. I applied to Kane University. Started my health and phys ed certification. It was going to be a 2-year process because of all the field experiences that I had to do. I didn't have to do that many classes because I had already done a lot with my undergrad in fitness management. Well, throughout this time, I'd already started competing in bodybuilding 2004, 2005. I was stricken by this mysterious, and I think I talked about it in one of the first 5 episodes, if you go way back, GI disease. They thought maybe it was Crohn's disease. I went to the Cleveland Clinic. I went to a hospital down in Tennessee. I did experimental procedures here in New Brunswick. All these things, right? I had ulcers and I was just a mess. Anyhow, in 2006, so I'd started teaching. I'm suffering with this thing for 2 years. I decided, you know what? I'm so depressed. I lost so much weight, no social life. I just need to compete again. What's the worst that could happen? I need to get my mind shifted to something else. I was obsessed with all these ailments and started getting ready for the bodybuilding show. And I started reading a lot. Started flooding my mind. This is when I really started flooding my mind with stuff like Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and all these people that were great influences on me, even though they didn't know it. And slowly but surely, my symptoms started to go away. Now, that's a whole different topic for another time, and again, one that I covered in a previous podcast. But at this time, I became so inspired that I said, you know what? I competed, and that summer of 2007 it was now at this point, I said, there's more I can do. I can affect more people. Let me start a business. So I was teaching. I had a great job as a phys ed teacher in Bridgewater Township. I said, I'm going to start a business, and it's going to be between landscaping or personal training. Now, landscaping, you might think is an odd fit for me, but I loved it as a kid. I actually had a business, 4 brothers, lawn cutting, I think we called it. And I had my tractor and I'd drive around and knock on doors and I was a salesman. And by the time I stopped when I was like 12 years old, I had about 12 lawns that we were cutting. And I really liked it. It was really, my first entrepreneurial venture. So it was always near and dear to my heart. And I actually applied for the name and everything. But then somehow I said, you know what, let me go personal training first. Because at the gym, when I would go work out, I was doing very unusual stuff at the time. And people would ask me to write them programs and to write them nutrition programs. So I said, all right, I'm going to start personal training. Let's see where it goes. I had no clue on how to market it or anything. So my brother's sister-in-law and her husband were actually the first 2 clients of mine. They reached out to me. I lived down in Washington, D.C., and they said, Kyle, can you write us a workout program and a diet? And I did that. And then it just slowly started building. I don't even know how. Just people started finding out about it. I started telling people, and it started to grow. So I'm teaching at this point. I was helping run the Bridgewater weight room, high school weight room after school, and they were grooming me to take that over. Little did I know the next year, So I was doing that, and I was driving around my little Hyundai Elantra training clients as I started to build my client list in their garages, in their homes. I'd bring dumbbells and a band and medicine ball. Started to grow. So year 2, 2007 into 2008, Bridgewater had approached me. Okay, we're going to give you a stipend. Coach Galida is going to be stepping down. You're going to have 2 stipends, fall and spring. $8,000 each. So at that time, right, $16,000 on top of my teaching salary was a big deal. And I was going to be the man running a big high school weight room. I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to focus on what I'm trying to build. So I turned it down. And then I wound up with another school, part-time, still teaching in Bridgewater, but, they wanted me to run their strength program. I had more flexibility. So this goes on the next couple of years. I build the pit in my parents' basement. If you've ever been to Newell Strength, you'll see a picture of the pit in the office. And it says, simply begin. The best way to get things started is to simply begin. The staff gave me that a couple of years ago, which actually was very emotional for me to actually see that. The fact that they put this together, but it brought back all these memories. What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know the secret and effective, very powerful goal-setting method that I use that you can use week by week to move yourself down the field of success? Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you exactly how to do this. Normally, it's $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time. And I had 200 square feet in my parents' basement. It was pretty cool, and the structure of it's still there. When I go to my parents' house, sometimes I'll go down there. It says train like a champion today as you walk down. I painted that on the wall. And I had about, 15 to 20 clients I'd built up to. They would come to my parents' house. I'd have to put the dog away. They had this crazy dog, and I would take people in the basement and I would train them. Now, 2009, I started getting a little burnt out because I'm teaching, coming home, training people till 8:30 at night. Still living at home at this point. And I said, you know what? I think I might stop doing this. I'm not enjoying it. I'm taking up way too much time and energy. At that point, I went to a business seminar on fitness. And that's when I started employing semi-private or small group training. I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to train multiple people at the same time to leverage my time. And it helped the clients because I was able to lower my rate a little bit rather than charging $100 an hour for a session. So that's, at that time, what I was charging for personal training. I was charging them $45 a session, but they would train together. So I did that. Did it for a couple of years. Same feeling comes back. Man, I'm getting a little burnt out. And at that point, I'd actually expanded the pit in my parents' basement to 600 square feet. I took over another part of their basement. So it was a big L shape. And I had basketball teams coming over. It was pretty crazy how the word was spreading, but I was getting people results. But again, the same feeling came, and I said, hey, I'm going to stop. I'm getting too burnt out. Don't like it. And if you look at mind mapping, I didn't have clarity on what I was trying to do or who I was trying to affect. I was just going about, right? I didn't have a plan, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But I was moving forward. At one of my best friend's weddings that summer, one of my other good friends who used to train at Joe DeFranco's, which is a legendary place for athletes to train up in North Jersey, said, why don't you do something like that? Open an actual facility and start training high-level athletes. Just train athletes. So you know what? I'm going to give up anyway, so let me just make it one more season. Let me open a facility, and I'm going to train just who I want to train. So we go through a couple months, transition over. I get the spot. I cut loose all my adult clients. Say, look, guys, I'm going to refund you whatever money that you still have on credit with me because I'm just going to train athletes. I wanted a certain environment. And I did that. And a lot of them actually respected me because so if you look at mind map, that's a clarity conversation. I wasn't trying to beat around the bush. I was very honest. Here's who I'm training. Here's why. Sorry, got to go find somebody else if you don't fit that criteria. So I do that right before we get married, open my facility. We bought a townhouse together, and, within 6 months, we outgrew that. And if you continue on down the path, the next, so now we're looking at 2012, my health was starting to take a back seat. I was still training and eating right, but I was not sleeping. because I would get to the gym literally at 5 or 5:30 in the morning, train people. Sometimes I'd work out with the guys. Then I would go teach, go right back to the gym, and I would stay till 9:30 at night. Go home, do it again. And I was getting up even earlier than 5:30 because I was so passionate about training. I wanted to be the best in the world. I would wake up and I would study. All my breaks when I was teaching, I would work on the business. I would write articles. I would write emails, newsletters. I would study. I actually had a satellite office in the school they allowed me to have where I could work on it. It was pretty cool. I kind of just took it over and I'd go in there with my book bag and I'd work. I'd get to school early and I'd read. But the same feelings kept coming back. As the business kept expanding, I kept saying, man, I'm getting a little burnt out. This was cool when it was just me, but now it's growing. I had an intern. I had my first part-time employee. In 2012, I had a very, very bad case of pneumonia. Should have been in the hospital for it, but I was too stupid. But I was actually laid up for a week, which was very unusual for me. You couldn't even touch like my skin or my head. Everything just hurt. Overcame that. We went down on a quick, spring break vacation to see my aunt and uncle in South Carolina. Came back, playing basketball, and 2 weeks out from pneumonia, still on medication, playing in the men's league. My left knee explodes in a basketball game. Literally, I mean, it is disgusting. Kneecap is up in the outside of the left thigh. Ruptured my first patellar tendon and did about 5 or 6 other ligaments with that injury. And the reason I'm telling you that, and again, I did a whole podcast on that, but it was my body was breaking down. And that was when Devin said, I think we might have to make a decision. You're doing too much. The schedule was crazy. That fall, I said, okay, I went to a mastermind. Some girl came up to me, said, I think you have to stop teaching. I said, what do you mean I have to stop teaching? She said, you're scared, but it's holding you back. You have so much more to offer, but you have this other full-time thing. Never saw the girl again. Never went to that mastermind again. It was not a fitness mastermind. It was just a mastermind and a guy I had met. It was a lawyer who invited me out. I came out to hang out. And I told Devin when I got back in her car when she picked me up at the airport, she said, she's right. So let's do it. It's time for you to stop teaching. This is October, beginning of a school year. So within a week, I talked to my principal. We decided, you know what, this is the right thing to do. So I hand my letter of resignation in. Hardest decision of my life. I was heartbroken because I loved the kids and I loved what I was doing. Handed it in on a Friday. That Sunday, Hurricane Sandy hits. The roof literally rips off the gym. That side of the gym was destroyed. But no turning back. I had 60 days to go. My letter was already in. They're already looking for my replacement. So second guessing myself. And there were many times, like I said before that, where I'd actually wanted to quit. I wanted to stop. I had actually applied to be a strength coach out at Boise State. I figured out, I'm going to go back into what I originally thought and be a college strength coach. And I was one of the finalists, even though I didn't have any connections out there because Rutgers had called for me. So I was going to move to Idaho. But fast forward 2012, hand the letter in, wound up expanding because I had to move out of that spot. They put us in a temporary spot and we doubled our square footage. Now I'm going into January with 3,000 square feet and I don't have a regular 9 to 5 job. My golden handcuffs is gone. But I kept moving forward day after day. And we continued to grow it. And I was being tested. Now throughout the next couple of years, 2013, 2014, 15, even some of 16, I was really fried because, again, it had morphed into something I did not envision. It turned into something that kind of mutated because I didn't have the infrastructure in place. And I started getting those feelings again, you know what? I'm not doing this. There's other stuff I want to do. And Devin was on board. I was just going to solely work on writing books and whatnot. I love writing. Maybe take on a couple high-ticket coaching clients as far as mind mapping. And we actually went out for vacation that summer to Idaho and Wyoming. So at the second time, Idaho comes up. And the reason we took that vacation is we were thinking about moving out there. I was going to shut down. We were going to move out there and just live a peaceful life. We're very simple people, and that's what I was going to do. Somehow I came out of that funk. We decided not to move out there. And I remember the day that it hit me, I said, I'm back. And I started writing. I wrote all these articles, and it just kind of lifted out of this despair that I was in. Still wasn't all the way back yet, But this past year, in August of 2017, shortly after our second son, Colt, was born, we had also decided to move forward with opening our second location. The fire was reinvigorated in me. The passion was back. And that's why we're opening the second location. That's why I went back and said, I'm going to fix this and make it the way I want to make it, where it's going to impact the most lives and the message is going to get out to the most people. And it's just going to be a kick-ass, world-class business. And that's where we're at. Started it in 2007. So 11 years ago. If you had asked me then would I envision we'd be here now, no way. Your brain can't think that far into the future. There's prediction and response. Your brain loves patterns. It can't think that far out or it gets anxiety. And if you had told me way back in 2007 all the stuff I'd go through to get to this point, I said, hell no, there's no way I would have done that. But sometimes what you don't know is your best friend, your best thing. You just keep taking daily steps, put one foot in front of the other. And there has been a lot more happy times than sad times as I've grown Newell Strength, and as it's become more than me. I have a great team, a great staff there. But you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And there will be times again when I'm sure I get the feeling that I'll want to step back. And that's normal. All overnight successes take at least 12 years. Remember that. But it's just a process. It goes back to the same thing I learned when I was bodybuilding. It's the process. It's not you get to a certain point and then there's a finish line and then you're done. That doesn't work. I enjoy the process now. I live on my terms. I live my days on my terms. I do the stuff I like to do most of the time. I have a very flexible schedule and we're impacting a lot of lives at Newell Strength. And, I don't know where it's going to end. And I don't care because I'm going to be wrong whatever I think of anyway. I know the mission. I know the vision. I know what direction we're going. And I know that if we do the right things and we focus on the process is the goal. Just like anything you're trying to do, the process is the goal. There's not an end goal. There's outcomes. All right. And the goal of the purpose of any goal or process is happiness. If it's not increasing your level of happiness, step out. Every time I face that with Newell Strength and Champion's Choice, I've readjusted and figured out, okay, what am I doing within this process that's making me unhappy? I go back and I fix it. The options were either fix it, use your self-awareness to fix it, or shut the business down. Those are the two options. And I kept coming back and fixing the process. So hopefully you can relate to some of that stuff. I know this was a little lengthy, coming up on 25 minutes, which is a little bit long for these podcasts that I usually put out. But that's the story of Newell Strength as it stands today. Location number 2, by the time you listen to this, if you're listening to it on iTunes, will be open at this point. And we're just going to keep, putting our footprint in the sand of the universe and seeing where we can take this and seeing if we can become the best in the world. Because somebody's got to be the best in the world. Why can't it be you? Why can't it be us? Why can't it be me? Somebody's got to do it. And you just keep moving forward. So hopefully you enjoyed that story. If you have not already done so, please leave a review on iTunes. That'll help me out greatly. A 5-star review would be nice if you like what I'm putting out. And share these messages with somebody that can use a positive message. And let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all your support. Peace.
You've been listening to the Inner Strength Show. If you enjoyed the show, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes.